Hey everybody, Gregwin here, and welcome to my PDL Season 8 draft analysis, first draft analysis for PDL Season 8. This is a draft league where we do APA style draft, which means that I'll be using this team that I drafted in this video for 3 weeks, and then after the first 3 weeks of battles, we'll draft another team, and I'll use that team for 3 weeks. And then after that, we'll draft one more team, and we'll use that team for the final 3 weeks of the season. So this is my first draft analysis for this season. There'll be 2 more after I draft my other 2 teams when the time comes. But for now, this is my first draft analysis for this league, for this season. So yeah, anyways, let's go over my picks. My tier 1 Pokemon that I picked for this league was Garchomp. I'm kind of surprised this made it to me in the second round, because usually Garchomp is always a round 1 pick, but somehow Garchomp made it to me in the second round. And I'm kind of surprised that it did, but it did. And yeah, I'm very glad that I got it, because Garchomp is has 130 base attack, and then it has 102 base speed, so it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it has 130 base attack and then 102 base speed, which isn't the fastest thing in the world, but it outspeeds base 100s. Plus, it has the rough skin ability, so I can give it Rocky Helmet. And then, whenever Pokemon make contact with Garchomp, they'll take the rough skin damage and the Rocky Helmet damage. So that's kind of a cool thing I can do. Plus, he's Dragon and Ground type, so he gets moves like Earthquake, and he gets Dragon Claw and Outrage, and then he also does get Poison Jab, which is interesting. And he gets some other attacks on the special side, but he's not a special attacker, so I won't really talk about that. But he's a really good Pokemon, and I'm glad that I got him in the second round. Now, the next Pokemon on this list that I drafted was Celebi. I drafted Celebi because it's an interesting psychic ground type. It's a pretty good tier 2 Pokemon. Has natural cure for the ability. It's a base 100 Pokemon. And I just thought Celebi would be a really good pick for my team because, well, it's psychic grass. And I just thought that with natural cure and it being a base 100, that it would be like a solid pick for the team. Because Psychic Grass is a really good typing for a Pokemon like Celebi, and I just think, even though it's quad weak to bug, if you can keep it away from bug types, and if you can keep it away from bug types and stuff, Celebi can do a really good job. It does get Heal Bell, and it gets Psychic and Grass type moves, and yeah, I just think Celebi can be a pretty good Pokemon, and yeah. Now, my next Pokemon on the list that I drafted is Rotom Heat. So, yeah, Rotom Heat is the next Pokemon that I drafted. It's an electric and fire type. It gets Levitate for the ability, which is interesting, and I drafted it because it's an electric and fire type, and yeah, I just thought it would be a really good Pokemon. It gets Levitate like all the Rotom forms do, and I just thought it would be a really good pick for my team, and that's why I drafted Rotom Heat. Now, the next Pokemon on my team, yes, it's another psychic type, but it's a water psychic. I know it's not a bulky water, but it's a pretty good Pokemon. I decided to drop Starmie because, well, Starmie is a decent Pokemon, and I just felt like with that water psychic typing that like Starmie would be a really good Pokemon to draft. Plus it's fast and it's a rapid spinner, so if I need to get rid of hazards, I can get rid of them with rapid spin on Starmie. Plus it's like pretty fast. It's base 115 speed, I believe. So that is pretty fast, and yeah, I thought that getting Starmie would be a really good thing, and it's a water psychic type, so it gets water and psychic type moves, and it gets like Psychic, Psyshock, Scald, Hydro Pump, Surf, and then it gets like Thunderbolt, it gets Shadow Ball, I believe, it gets Dazzling Gleam, and yeah, it gets some interesting special attacks, plus it's a rapid spinner. Sorry about me crunching a wrapper there a minute ago, but anyway, that's... Plus it gets Natural Cure. It's another Pokemon that gets Natural Cure, or it gets Analytic. With Analytic boosts attacks if it goes second, which might not happen that often, but yeah, I'd prefer to run Natural Cure because that gets rid of status conditions upon switching, like Celebi. So yeah, that's Starmie. And yeah, my next pick for my next Pokemon that I drafted is Araquanid. Yes, I know it's another water type, but it's also a bug type. So, yeah, I drafted Araquanid. It gets the water bubble ability, so it can't get burned and stuff, and it also gets water absorb, which is interesting. But I'd rather run water bubble, because that means it can't get burned and stuff, and I think fire type moves do less damage. So, yeah, I decided to draft Araquanid because it's an interesting Pokemon. And another thing about Araquanid is that it gets Sticky Web. So that's a good thing, because then I can set up Sticky Web against my opponent. So yeah, that's a good thing. And I know it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's actually pretty slow, but it's at least a decent Pokemon that has like a decent typing of water and bug. And I just thought that the water bug type was interesting, and that's why I drafted Araquanid. Anyways, my next pick, yes, another overlapping type here, is Heracross. We have another bug type, but it's bug fighting. And I just thought Heracross would be interesting to draft because I haven't used Heracross in Draft League before, and he's one of my favorite bug types, actually, and also one of my favorite fighting types. And I was just like, you know what? Let's draft him because he gets guts, so if I can give him like a flame orb, then his attack will be doubled. And with Moxie, if he knocks out a Pokemon, it raises his attack by 1 stage. And with moves like Stone Edge and Rock Slide and like Mega Horn and Close Combat and stuff like that, with Guts or Moxie, those will hit really hard. Plus, if I give him a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf, then he can be faster or he can hit harder. So yeah, that's Heracross, and that's why I drafted Heracross. Now my next pick was Roserade, which I know, it also gets Natural Cure for the ability. I know, it's a third Natural Cure Pokemon, but it also gets Technician, which is interesting. And it's a grass poison type, and I needed a grass type, so I drafted Roserade. Which, Roserade is a really good Pokemon, and yeah, gets like Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, it gets like Sludge Bomb, and then it gets like Energy Ball and Leaf Storm and stuff like that. And it also gets extra sensory, which is interesting. And yeah, that's Roserade. And yeah, that's Roserade. And then my next Pokemon that I drafted is not an overlapping type. It's actually Frostlass. See ya. Anyways, Frostlass is the next Pokemon that I drafted. It's an Ice and Ghost type. And it gets Cursed Body for the ability, so if a Pokemon uses an attack against it, has a chance to get disabled. And I drafted Frostlass because the Ice Ghost type was interesting. And yeah, I just thought the Ice Ghost type was interesting. And plus Frostlass gets Spikes, which is interesting. And it gets like Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, and stuff like that. And I just thought that Frostlass was an interesting Pokemon, and that's why I drafted it. And then you're going to be surprised at this one. It's another overlapping typing, and that type is Cryogonal. That Pokemon is Cryogonal. I know it's another Ice type. Lots of overlapping types on this team now that I'm realizing it, but I still really like the team. And Cryogonal, I was just trying to find something to draft that was a tier 5, and I was like, you know what, let's draft Cryogonal. I know he has a decent special defense, but I know that his physical defense is trash. And him being an Ice type, pure Ice type, that's a terrible typing. He does get Levitate for what it's worth. But I just couldn't think of anything else to draft. So I just kind of drafted Cryogonal just because I saw that he was an interesting Pokemon to draft, so I drafted him. Now another Pokemon on this team that I drafted is a tier 5 is Flareon. So yeah, I drafted Flareon because even though it's a physical fire type and it's not the best Pokemon in the world, I decided to draft Flareon because it's a fire type. It gets Guts for what it's worth, so I can boost its attack stat if I decide to give it a Toxic Orb. So, which can poison it, which will make it so that way its attack it's doubled, which is interesting. Even though it doesn't get the most physical attacks, and fire isn't a very much physical typing, isn't really a physical typing. But yeah, I drafted Flareon because it's cute. I needed something to draft, so I just kind of drafted Flareon. And now for my final Pokemon that I drafted, and it's my Mega Evolution. I decided to draft Mega Aerodactyl. The reason I drafted Mega Aerodactyl is because it was still on the board, and I just kind of was like, you know what, let's draft it because it's a rock flying type. And I know that Mega Aerodactyl is like really fast. It's base 150 speed, so that's to note. So it's like really fast. It's rock flying. It gets like Rock Slide. It gets Stone Edge. It gets like Crunch. It gets Iron Head. Gets like Ice Fang, Thunder Fang, and I think Fire Fang for what it's worth. So it gets some interesting moves. It gets some interesting moves for what it's worth. Plus it's just like really fast and it can hit really hard, and that's why I drafted Mega Aerodactyl, is because I wanted to try using him. I haven't used him in Draft League before, and I just thought he would be an interesting Pokemon to try using. So that's why I drafted Mega Aerodactyl. Now that's my team, and I hope that you liked it. That was the draft analysis for the first of 3 draft analysis videos for PDA Season 8 for the Utah Mews, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you guys then. Regwin out.